What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. Officially ready to rock and roll for my wildcard preview. Going to go through every single matchup, talk about every game, give you my score predictions, talk about key players, key strategies, keys to each game, and I'm excited to get into it, man. But if you would like to see my entire playoff bracket, I already made a video on that. That is on the channel, and then Friday night we were doing just a rival podcast, Colts fan, Texans fan, going at it, having a good time talking some football. So right before the playoffs start. So let's get into it. Let's not waste so much more of your time. First matchup we have are the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. 6-3. Going to be a pretty good game, man. I mean, I think it's going to be a little better than some people think. I was just talking about my playoff bracket. I think this game may not actually be that close, but you think about it, man. I mean, the Steelers, it's a rivalry game. The Steelers know the Ravens so well. Now, if this was a team like the Steelers that doesn't play the Ravens often, then maybe maybe the Steelers would kind of had a really tough go in this one. But you know what? The Steelers always play the Ravens good. They play them often. They know the best ways to limit Lamar, try to slow him down. But ultimately, the question is, you could say that you know a way or you have an idea, but if you can't execute the idea, if you can't actually do it, you know what you need to do, but you need to actually do it. You need to actually be able to do it. And will the Steelers be able to do it against Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry? I don't think so. The Steelers have a really good defense, and I think the defense could keep them in the game, but the offense is not going to be able to win the game for them. The defense could keep you in the games, but the defense cannot win you games, and that's the Steelers' problem. Their offense can't win them games. Their offense won't be able to do what they need to do to outscore the Baltimore Ravens. When you're playing a team like the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, man, you got to be able to score points. You got to be able to put up points too. You can't just play defense, because the Ravens, they're going to put up points. They're going to put up a good amount of points no matter who they're playing. The way Lamar Jackson's playing, the way Derrick Henry is playing, you have to be able to put up points as well, and you can't turn the ball over. Russell Wilson, Steelers offense, they've been turning the ball over a little bit, haven't been able to make good use of every single possession. When you're going up against teams like the Ravens, and they're going to score points, and they're going to limit possessions on you, they're not going to give you many chances because they run the football so well, and they're just going to drain that clock. So I don't think the Steelers offense can make use of their possessions as efficiently as the Ravens. So that is why I'm taking the Ravens here 27-20 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretty comfortable as well with that prediction. Next up, you have the Houston Texans and you have the Los Angeles Chargers. This is going to be a good matchup as well. Both have really good defenses, but once again, we're kind of talking about the same situation. Herbert is great. Stroud has kind of been in a sophomore slump. Is it all his fault? Some of it is, but you look at his offensive line, you look at his offense coordinator, both have been having issues, especially that interior of that Texans offense line is pretty bad, and the Chargers defense line is going to get after CJ Stroud. It's going to make it a long day for the Texans. And to be honest with you, I think the Texans will make it a little bit better of a game than I was thinking initially. Like, if you go and watch my playoff bracket video, I'm kind of thinking that the Chargers are really going to go far, and I think they will. But if they do beat the Texans here, they're probably going to have to go through the Chiefs, and I'm kind of having second thoughts about having them over the Chiefs yesterday. But it is what it is. It's it's in the sand, it's in the dirt, so I can't really change it now. But the Los Angeles Chargers, they should beat the Texans without too much of an issue. Like I was kind of saying, it's kind of the same thing with the Ravens and Steelers game. Look, the Texans have a really good defense, and maybe something that will click in the playoffs. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes when teams hit the playoffs, they're a different team, but I think the Texans are, they're on a 3-game losing streak coming into the playoffs. Well, 3-game losing streak, then they did win a game, but practically on that 3-game losing streak, that 3-game skid, and when they played better teams, they really struggled. And like I said, they do have a really good defense, but they're not going to be able to outscore Justin Herbert and the Chargers. They run the ball really well. Both teams run the ball well. Both teams play really good defense. But who has a better offense? Who is a quarterback that has played much better this year? And which team is coached better? I will be honest with you, the Chargers are better coached. They're going to be more disciplined. And the Texans have been in this spot. So that's something you can't underrate. And the Chargers haven't really been in this position. I think 2 years ago that they were in the playoffs, but the Texans have been in the playoffs a little more consistently. So the experience in the playoffs is there for the Texans, not really for the Chargers as much as the Texans. So that can be a factor as well. You can't underestimate playoff experience. That is a very important factor to look into when you're looking at any of these games. And you'll see there's a game I'm going to talk about in a little bit here that really affected, why I picked the Buccaneers over the Chargers. I'm just going to tell you that straight up right now. But the Chargers, I had the Chargers beating the Houston Texans. It's going to be a good game, but the Chargers, I think they're better equipped to win this football game than the Texans are. So give me the Chargers 24-20 over Houston. All right, next up, you have the Bills and you have the Broncos. So as you see, I did kind of change my score as I was going through the graphics here, but give me the Bills because, look, the Broncos can be sneaky. They can make it a good game. If the Broncos can get that running game going and keep, you could kind of try and keep Josh Allen off the field. You could try and keep them out of rhythm and try to limit the possessions that Josh Allen has. And then on top of that, hope that Josh Allen makes a couple of his Josh Allen type of mistakes, throws a couple of interceptions, does this and that. Then maybe the Broncos have a shot, but the Bills are hungry. Josh Allen's hungry, and the way the Bills have been playing, they have a really good shot to win this game. The issue is, that Bills run defense can be a little questionable at times. It's been inconsistent this year, so if the Broncos can get that run game going and Josh Allen's just not having his day, this could just be one of those games where it's like, what are we doing, Josh Allen? What are we doing, Bills? If they don't do it this year, when are they going to do it? And it feels like we're saying that every year, but the Bills come back and they look better every year. The Bills have a plethora of weapons. I think that the Bills, and the Broncos defense has been good at times this year. I feel like it has gotten worse as the season went on, which maybe means it's a little more predictable. Teams are catching on. They're finding the weaknesses. And for damn sure that the Bills and Josh Allen are going to take advantage of those weaknesses that are on tape, that are on film. So give me the Bills, 31-23. The Broncos just aren't ready yet. The Broncos are a good football team, and we were talking about playoff experience earlier. Last game was kind of like a playoff game for the Broncos. If they didn't lose, if they didn't win, and then the Bengals won, they knew that the Bengals won already. So practically, last game was a playoff game, and they smoked the Chiefs. But at the same time, you played a Chiefs team. All their starters were sat. All of their major superstar players were kind of sat, like George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Mahomes, Trent McDuffie. All of these guys were sat because they don't want to risk getting them hurt. And the Broncos, they took advantage. They won 38-0. Regardless of who you play, winning 38-0 is really impressive. But we're going to see what they have this week. When you're playing the Bills, you're playing a fully locked and loaded, very dangerous Bills team coming out of the playoffs here. I just don't think they're ready. And the Bills have all that playoff experience that I was just talking about a couple minutes ago. So give me Buffalo. Give me the Bills. And it's in Buffalo as well. This is all these Broncos players, practically their first year in the playoffs. That playoff experience is going to show that the lack of experience. I think they're going to make a couple mistakes here and there. I think they're going to keep it close, but those couple mistakes here and there are going to hurt them in this game. Considering every single play, every single drive is magnified 10x compared to the regular season, because one bad drive and that could dictate if your season ends or not. So give me Buffalo 31-23 over the Denver Broncos. Next up, we're going to move to the NFC. Finally, we have the Los Angeles Rams and we have the Minnesota Vikings. So, are you ready? I had the Los Angeles Rams upsetting the Vikings, and let me tell you why. Look, the Rams' defense isn't very good, and the Rams' offense can be inconsistent themselves. And the Vikings are one of the best, if not the best teams in the NFL. But I think this is going to be a surprise game. Matthew Stafford, you cannot count Matthew Stafford out. I think a lot of people are going to look at this game and say, yeah, the Vikings easily. I'm looking at this game and being like, not so fast. You have Matthew Stafford, you have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. The offensive line is, it's not horrible. It's not great. It's enough. And the Vikings like to play some sort of defense. They did change it up the last couple weeks, trying to put something different out there on film. But you can't fool Matthew Stafford regardless. And you know that Sean McVay and the Rams have been saving a lot for the playoffs. They don't like to show everything. They like to save. And, they're here. So all that stuff's going to come out. They're playing one of the best teams in the league. All that stuff is going to come out, and I think the Rams are at home as well. That's another plus. Matthew Stafford, all those weapons he's got, the run game. I really think the Rams have a good shot to upset the Vikings here, man. I really do. It's just a gut feeling. I could be very, very wrong. The Vikings could maybe smoke the Rams, but I don't think they're going to. I don't think so. You give me the Rams, 27-24 over the Minnesota Vikings in the first round of the wild card to go out and shock the world. Everyone's kind of forgetting about Matthew Stafford. I think when everyone brings up some of the best quarterbacks in the league, you say Mahomes, you say Allen, you say Lamar, Burrow, and rightfully so. But I would say that Matthew Stafford is like on the bottom of those guys. Like, he's right there, if you know what I mean. Like, maybe he's not better than any of those guys, but he is maybe like a tier, like a half a tier lower than them, if that makes sense. Stafford is still that guy. He is getting older, and, you know, something that is good to note here is that Matthew Stafford, he's aggressive. He'll throw a couple of interceptions. He might. And with the disguise that the Minnesota Vikings like to do, they like to screw you up, and Matthew Stafford may see something open and be like, oh, no, maybe it's not. But Stafford does know what he's looking at, but that aggressiveness can really bite him in the butt playing the Vikings here, considering the Rams' defense is not great. I can see that coming back at them. You know what I mean? So, there's something to note there. You know, if Matthew Stafford throws a couple of interceptions and has one of those games, then, you know, they could very well lose this game. They could very well lose this game regardless. The Vikings are a damn good football team, but I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams to upset the Vikings this weekend. Next game I think is maybe one of the more difficult games to predict. I think that the AFC is fairly easy to predict compared to the NFC. The NFC is much more difficult. I think every game in the NFC can go either way. Obviously, they could in the AFC too, but the AFC, you know, I think it's a little more straightforward. Could be wrong. I could get every single game wrong. You really never know. But this game up next, the Bucs and the Commanders. You know how I was talking about playoff experience earlier, and I said I was going to bring this up once again. I'm doing it here. Look, Jaden Daniels, awesome. They, you know, both teams can run the football really well. So that's something important to note here, but the Washington Commanders' run defense is not very good. And that's one of the big differences in this game. That's one of the big, discrepancies in this game. The Bucs run defense versus the Commanders run defense. Both can run the ball really well. The Bucs can stop the ball much better, and the Commanders will struggle to stop the run. And Baker Mayfield's going to be clutch with Mike Evans. And they have more playoff experience. They've been in this spot. They've been here many years in a row now. With Brady, with Baker, they have the playoff experience. They know what it takes to win a playoff game. The Commanders are young, and, you know, similar to the Broncos in some ways. They're young. They don't have a lot of playoff experience. And that is a factor going into why I'm taking the Bucs. And I think the Bucs are ultimately a better rounded team than the Commanders as well. So give me the Bucs, 31-27. Like I said, Daniels has been awesome, and he's been nothing short of spectacular for a rookie. I've loved what I've seen. But the Bucs, they had the experience here, man. And I think they're going to take it home. I think they're going to win this football game. I think the Bucs are going to win at home. They're at home as well. It's another big advantage. So, like I said, every single play, every drive is 10x magnified. And, you know, the Commanders are as good as they are. They're as good as they are on paper. They're coached really well. But it's not going to be enough against the Bucs. The Bucs are a good football team. They have the playoff experience. Baker is clutch, especially in these moments. Baker is awesome. So give me the Bucs. Next up. So both of my upsets are coming in the NFC, if you haven't noticed already. Taking the Green Bay Packers over the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know Jordan Love suffered an injury, but he's going to play. He should be fine. He was going to go back into that game, but it was a precautionary measure not to put him back in. Playoffs are out in the corner. Why risk it? They were kind of playing for better seeding, but really couldn't anyways because the Commanders beat the Cowboys. So, let me tell you why I'm picking the Packers. The Eagles run the football really well, okay? But if you take Saquon Barkley out of it, which the Packers probably aren't going to completely take away Saquon Barkley, but I say that they're going to limit him, and they're going to make Jalen Hurts have to make a couple big-time plays, which he could. He's capable of it. You know, he's got the weapons. He's got the ability to do so himself. But Hurts is not as good when he has to do it on his own. You know what I mean? And you can say that for any quarterback. When you have a run game, it makes it that much easier on them. But I think once Hurts has to, like I said, I don't think he's going to have to carry the game. But he's going to have to do, and he might be a little rusty, man. That's another factor. He hasn't played too much the last couple weeks. He's been injured. And they just said, okay, now we're just going to keep him out until the playoffs begin. Good idea. But he hasn't played in a couple weeks. So that's another factor. If he has to go out there and, you know, kind of put the team on his back a little more than usual, And on top of that, he hasn't played in a couple weeks. Yeah, he has rest. That's one counter argument to as well. He has rest. He has a little more rest. He may be even better, but he's not going to. It's come back from the injury after a couple of weeks like that. I think that the Packers are going to have a good opportunity to win this game. This isn't, the Packers last year, last time they went up against, the 2 seed and the Cowboys, they smoked them. Scored, 40 plus, almost 50, maybe it was 50. The Packers really, they were the 7th seed last year, the 7th seed again. So they're going to do it to this. So the Packers are going to beat the 2nd seed once again as the 7th seed, and they're going to move on to the next round to play the Detroit Lions, as you see the way I have my playoff predictions here. So that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where if you guys welcome. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And this is the JDW Sports Talk Show, and I will be signing off. Thank you for watching.